Welcome, everybody, to another must-see Thursday. I don't even know what day it is anymore. July 10th, I think. Superman is out today. I'm hoping to see it this weekend. We're going to talk about all the home arcade news you may have missed. And, of course, a big one is Chuck's Arcade. So we'll talk about that, all that and more right after this. All right. Before we get started, I wanted to say hello to everybody that has taken the time to drop by. I really do appreciate. And don't forget to smash the like button as we call out your name. It really does help the channel. And straight out of the gate, I have to give a big shout out to Sergeant Giratina for gifting 10 memberships to the channel. Really do sincerely appreciate it. Thank you, sir. The Be Me is here. Yes, and it is a hell of a way to start the show. Bright and early. Sergeant was in here. We got Mike Cockhurts. Thanks for dropping by. Fat Hog is here. Of course, the moderator of all moderators, the one who moderates them all, Jason Little Alien. Thanks for dropping by, my friend. J-Rod is here. Manuel, the wise guy, is here. Thanks for dropping by. Dr. Torque is in the house. Looking for adult arcades. John Fritz is here. Thank you, sir. Gramps Arcade, always nice to see you. Ritual Dello is here. Stock Jock dropping by. Says he heard James Hates Everything intro music, and it ain't the sound of sweet electric guitars. That it is not. Jim the Pacers fan is here. Thank you, sir. He says, I'm not familiar with main event or round one. Basically, main event I know is big in the Midwest. It's very similar to Dave & Buster's, but it's mixed in with a full laser tag arena. They also have bowling, of course, a full bar, all that fun stuff. Round one is another big nationwide regional bowling alley and arcade place. So all those are very modern, and that's kind of where I was hinting at with our poll today. So make sure you participate in that poll, as we're asking what is the best modern arcade. So think Dave & Buster's, think this new Chuck's Arcade that we're going to talk about. Billy Woods Mods is in the house. Let's see who else we got here. We've got Michael B, the Game Genie, and he says there has been no news, and that is why we are going back a week and a half. Last week's stream we just played a little Mario Kart, didn't really cover any major news, so we're going to recap some of that just in case you missed any of the news. MSU Rich is here. R Burger, thanks for dropping by. JJ is in the house. We got Provolone Joe, thanks for dropping by. And Chris Ford is here. The real Zim, not to be confused with the fake one, thanks for dropping by. And let's see here. We got Chris Nooner, or North by Northwest. He says, having only experienced Dave & Buster's on that list, I can still say it's not the best. Steve Sale, thanks for dropping by. The king of VR golf that he doesn't want anybody to know, but he is the best. And Israel Gaming, thanks for dropping by. All right, before we get started, I did want to mention, I shared this in a post earlier this week when I got the news. And of course, that was the loss of, I think, one of the best human beings I think you could possibly meet. And of course, I'm talking about Pac-Man QC. You guys don't know him. He created arcade documentaries. And this is a guy that has gone through a ton of adversity in his life. And as I mentioned, he passed away earlier this week. I got a chance to meet Pac-Man little over a year ago at Midwest Gaming Classic. Got an opportunity to hear from him, his journey on YouTube and just gaming in general. Really interesting, really nice guy. He came by after the show and actually commented on a few of my videos. So I really appreciated him, dropping by and engaging. And like I said, this is a guy, he went through so much adversity and he never let it get him down. I mean, the world needs a lot more people like him. And unfortunately, losing somebody like him makes it all the more tragic because of what a great guy he was. And I just wanted to take kind of a moment of not really silence, but take a moment out for him. This, I guess you could consider this my version of the 10 count that they give in boxing. I just want to pay tribute to him, take a moment to think about him. Maybe you guys, if you did know him, prayers for his family, his friends. His best friend Steve was always there by his side. Think of his wife and everybody as you in this little next moment. And my prayers and everything go out to him and his family. All right, so short on there, but like I said, if you are not familiar with the content he produced, he put a lot of time, effort, and hours into making these really detailed documentaries about arcade games, and he's been producing them for years. And right up until last week, was his most recent one about Super Mario Brothers 3. And they're great content. Go watch them. Go pay tribute to the man. And thanks everybody for taking the time out for that, because it was it was a sudden and tragic loss. So he will be missed. So now to pivot, like Casey Kasem, right? Coming out of that. Let's talk about some of the latest news. And we do have some big home arcade news that dropped just in the last 24 hours. And so let's get into it. Yep, we're talking about the 2025 Rolling Stone Gaming Awards. So Rolling Stone apparently has decided they're proving once again, let's just put it this way, they're proving once again that Rolling Stone should stick to music and stay out of other genres. So before we jump into this list, and it's a hilarious list, we're going to talk about it. Let's first talk about the criteria that they used to create this list. And it says here, for Rolling Stone's first ever gaming awards, our team of writers and editors research products recently released. Some are brand new, others are modern, but still reign supreme in their class. To determine the categories and products tested, we looked at the big picture of what it means to be a gamer and what gamers want and need. First, there's the platforms to game on, from consoles, PCs, and portables to more specialized hardware that evokes retro nostalgia. We also considered the players are using games for in the era of streaming. Content creation and gameplay go hand in hand. And of course, there are the games themselves, which serve as the foundation for it all. For the 2025 Gaming Awards, Rolling Stone staff and expert contributors worked together to identify which products should be recognized as essential for every gamer's individual needs, based on hours of dedicated testing and personal use throughout the year. We ran every console and device through its paces, testing different versions of multi-platform games and exclusives alike as part of our rigorous review process. We set up after-hours gaming sessions to pass around controllers and compete in our own newsroom arcade. And we captured and created content that's been part of our own editorial coverage utilizing tech that's available to consumers and professionals alike. These are products that we equally trust are the best tools to do our jobs and enjoy the comfort of our homes, in the comfort of our homes. After testing and deliberation, our team chose the winners based on their innovative and reliable quality of life features, their balance of ease of use and high-end quality. And frankly, whether they're fun to use, after all, what good is being the best in gaming without enjoying yourself along the way? So I want you to remember those comments. Remember the hours of testing, the hours of gameplay as we go through the winners of this year's 2025 Rolling Stone Gaming Awards. So right out of the gate, number one, the best home console, the absolute best, is the PlayStation 5 Pro, coming in at $700. Okay. So first, right out of the gate, obviously people can debate this. What is best? Highest performance, best graphics, best selection. So I'll give this one a pass. How about the best handheld console? Well, you know, they've had a month, so clearly that's Nintendo Switch 2. Again, probably the highest performing handheld console, because how many handheld consoles are they? You know, what are they comparing it to? The Switch 1, the Anbernic, the some of the stuff from Unico, right? The Unico Pocket, the Evercade Super Pocket. Like, what are they comparing it to, right? So not a big stretch. How about the best handheld PC? I think we have a few people in this community that would probably agree. They give this one to the Asus ROG Ally X. Okay. I'm with you a little. How about the best gaming desktop? The MSI Aegis R2. Okay, now I'm starting to, how is this the best gaming desktop? It's got a 5070 Ti. It's not a 5080. It's not a 5090. It's 32 gigs of memory, 2 gigs on board. Starting to question now where we're going here. Like, how is this one the best? There's nothing in here about benchmarks. There's nothing about why it was considered the best. It's coming off a lot like a paid advertisement, isn't it? You see it down here. It's down here, right up here. Look at this. Best home arcade cabinet. This is where it starts getting really funky. The best home arcade cabinet. You guessed it. The winner is the Arcade 1-Up Deluxe, which is currently on sale for $150 off on Arcade 1-Up's website. You can get one of, what, 3 or 4 deluxe cabs right now, I think, for $150 off. And if you buy a whole bunch, you can stack those 150s. But they've taken most of the good games down. The claw machine's gone, whatever. But it says here the Arcade 1-Up Deluxe one, yet the picture is of a classic SE Walmart cab. So I'm super duper confused. How did they know what they're talking about? Did they actually review a deluxe cab? Or did they review a classic SE cab? Who are the other nominees? Very interesting. And again, have to start to wonder, look, this is probably who you're going to pick because nobody else has released really anything yet other than small one-off companies. And so I can see Arcade 1-Up winning this category, but it sure feels like the person who wrote this and did all this doesn't even know what what product they're talking about. So they're not showing the right product. So that's the home arcade news for the week, is that Arcade 1-Up is an award winner, 2025 Best Home Arcade Cabinet in the middle of the year. How about let's go down to the best gaming laptop, a Razer Blade 16. I have no idea, so we'll just move past that one. Yep, next year it will be the Glen FU. Trust me, they did their research. The deluxe is now the SE cabs. Yeah. The local newspaper was allowed to lie about stuff. Why not Rolling Stone? And the winner for most face in a slim box goes, yes, indeed. I work hard at that. How about best gaming monitor? I know Michael B just invested in a new gaming monitor. I wonder what he would think about the $1,000 MSI QD OLED gaming monitor. 240 hertz refresh rate. Okay. It's an OLED. Okay. Yeah. I don't know what. I'm assuming it's 32 inches, but it doesn't really say on here. So, variable refresh rate. Very curious. This doesn't seem like a monitor of the year, but that's just me. Hey, B Kirby. Hey, Galaga Guy, MG, the bad guys here. How about the best headset wireless? The SteelSeries Arctis Nova Pro wireless headset. Now, I'm not a wireless headset guy, but never really heard of this brand. So again, I have to start wondering, is this a paid advertisement? Seems odd. How about the best VR headset? MetaQuest 3S. Best VR headset for 2025. Look, I'm sure the 3S is good. Probably the best value VR headset. But if you're talking about performance, like they seem to imply on consoles earlier on, wouldn't the best VR headset be the MetaQuest 3 at a minimum? Since it's got all the same features, plus higher resolution, more power, more everything. Very strange, right? Again, really feels like just an ad right here. Best gaming TV, the Sony Bravia 2. 65-inch class OLED, maybe. Sony's good. How about the best earbuds? Well, this is interesting. The same company won best headphones and earbuds. Best chair, Herman Miller. Of course, you can't go wrong with a really expensive, well-known office brand. $2,000 if you're looking for that best gaming chair. How about the best gaming adapter? Blackbone Pro. ROG Strix keyboard. Razer Basculix Pro. Now here's where I know they're full of shit. The best gaming mic, the best mic for gaming, is the Logitech Blue Yeti. Like, what are they smoking? Blue Yeti is a great entry-level podcast microphone. But you're not using this while you're gaming. It picks up every sound, every vibration. It's a budget microphone. I think everybody probably owns one. It's fine, but it's a very much entry-level microphone. And I would hardly call it the best microphone of 2025. The Blue Yeti has been out for a bazillion years. Which again, I'm thinking this was a paid advertisement now that Logitech apparently owns Blue Yeti. Again, another horribly questionable decision. The best Pro controller out of all Pro controllers, out of the Switch 2 Pro controller, out of the PlayStation 5 controller, the Xbox Elite controllers, out of all of those, the 8-bit DOE controller wins it all. Wins it all. So it should come as no surprise that the best retro controller, also 8-bit DOE. Here's another interesting one. I don't know enough about fighting sticks, but they rate the number one fighting stick of 2025 is the Victrix FS Pro arcade stick. Not used it, so I can't comment, but I'm really thinking the best fight stick to be released this year is the Arcade2TV XR. Now, to be absolutely open, I got a review unit of that, right? So disclosing that, and I have an affiliate relationship with them. But seriously, it was the killer arcade stick of the year. Not only can it work with your PCs and all your consoles and all that stuff, but it worked with VR too. So you can do VR gaming, VR pinball, VR retro gaming, all of that stuff in the MetaQuest. Like, how could all the functionality that is included in the Arcade2TV XR, which is quite frankly like less cost if you get it without the stand. This doesn't come with a stand, so it's less money than this thing. You get 2 controllers in one. You get a trackball, you know. So this is very questionable to me. Again, feels like a paid advertisement. Then we get to the really questionable stuff. The best PlayStation 5 game of 2025 is one that came out like a week ago. Death Stranding 2 on the beach. That's awfully convenient. I'm sure you put hours and hours and hours of testing into this game. How about the best Xbox game? South of Midnight. I've heard very mixed reviews of South of Midnight. You would think like Claire Obscure Expedition 33 would be an easily winner. I think right now that's the top of everyone's list for game of the year. Somehow is not on this list at all. South of Midnight, a game that I think I've heard is extremely buggy, not well put together. I know it has its fans, but come on. Out of every Xbox game, Indiana Jones, Forza, South of Midnight, give me a break. Best PC game. Now, I didn't even know this game was released. I didn't even know this game existed. Dune Awakening. So, I don't know. You PC gamers out there, is this Dune Awakening the game of the year? Come on now. Best VR game? Okay. I agree. If you guys haven't played this one, it's awesome. Awesome game. Best Nintendo Switch 2 game. Well, considering that there's only 2 out there at the time of this release, right, being native Switch 2 games not available anywhere else, Mario Kart World and Fast Fusion, no surprise that they won. So an absolute joke that Rolling Stone would put out this giant ad, and that's all this is. Every one of these has a giant buy now button right underneath it. I'm sure that's a coincidence, because when you do awards and you talk about the hours and hours of time you've put into comparing all these different products, jumping through all these different hoops, they just always have a direct link to buy it. They're always readily available. It's an absolute joke. Stick to covering music, Rolling Stone. You suck at everything else. James is so jealous he didn't think of doing it. No. So how did I find out about the Rolling Stone Gaming Awards? Well, none other than Arcade1Up, who has started promoting their big bad new award for an arcade cabinet that was released 2 years ago. You know, remember, Arcade1Up hasn't really released a new deluxe cabinet since what? The Slim Katie NBA Jam? Last year we only had Golden Tee and the Slim Katie. So not sure how they're getting an award for old stuff, but there you go. Whereas on the game side, they're all games that came out within the last month, but are maybe a little more on that Xbox win there. Let's see. Whoop. Getting it wrapped and to see if it was supported enough and not get the boot. Jim the Pace says, what is the A1UP link to go to? Or if you're talking about the deals, you just go to their website, arcade1up.com. That's where they're having their site-wide sale. And every time they do a site-wide sale, right, they take off everything they don't want to sell and pretend like they're out of stock. So I think there's 3 or 4 cabinets up there. I mean, we can look at it right now, right? Hot deals. You can pretend like you can get major savings. The only way you're going to get to $3,000 is if you buy 10 of the same cab. So let's look, right? Mortal Kombat, Pac-Man, NBA Jam Slim Katie Edition, Golden Tee Deluxe. And of course, you can get your what is it? You can get 300 off the Infinity Game table and 150 off the game board. So, yeah. If you don't have these, it's a fairly decent deal. Not for this one, but these 3, if you don't have them and you've been eyeing them, 150 off is a decent deal. These aren't like, what happened to the claw machine? What happened to Fast and Furious? Where's Class of 81, which we know is an ample stock all over the place? It's very interesting what's not listed. And, that's all that's there. You really can't even find anything else. If you click shop all, it's just, a photo booth. That's the only thing that was missing. Oh, there's Class of 81. So it is there, but somehow it was hidden. Oh, it says it's out of stock. Sure it is. Sure it is. Sure it is. Just so stupid. So stupid. All right. So that was the big Arcade 1UP news. Congratulations on their apparently paid for award. Let's see. Bad Guy says, because someone at Arcade 1UP knows someone who works for Rolling Stone. Probably. Let's see here. You need to buy the whole company to hit the 1,250. So true, MG. So true. So another fun, interesting thing from Arcade 1UP. So next up, let's talk about the big reveal. Let's speculate a little. For those of you who don't know, Zen Studios is about to release or at least announce a new pinball pack. And they have given us a hint as to what it is. And I know Chaotic has some thoughts, and I know you guys have some thoughts. So let's talk about it. So here is the hint that we got. Is it even listed here? It is not listed here. So the hint is it's a Williams table manufactured before 1990 and sold 3,001 units. So that is our hint. That is it. That is the hint they gave us. And I'm assuming by this picture, right, there's more tables than just that. That is our first one. So I'm kind of interested. What do you guys think is going to be the announcement? And all indications are, as Zen has stated, that this will be day and date across all platforms. So you will be able to get it on PC, AtGames 4KP, and Pinball FX VR. So that would be great. Chaotic says it's Pinbot or Diner. Take it easy, MG. And Stock Jock says it's definitely not Firepower, which apparently is the greatest pinball game of all time. Fat Hog says he hopes it's not Pinbot. Well, I will tell you what I think it is, since you guys are not speculating, and you can, or not all of you, and I don't blame you. Not everybody's a pinball guy, but I have a little guess, of course. And honestly, I think it's a weird choice if that's the case. But yeah, I think it's the only one that fits their rules. So made before 1990. This one was made way before 1990. In fact, it was made in 1975. So yeah, you're talking old school Williams, not exactly the fun like 80s and 90s eras that we've been digging. And fun fact, it's the only Williams pinball table to have manufactured exactly 3,001 units. And that is Toledo. So obviously one of those older style pins, you got the 2-player. So honestly, this gives me Magic Pixel vibes, right? They like these older tables like this. So if Pinball FX is going back to the olden days of pinball, I sure hope the other pinball machines in this pack, pinball tables, are bangers. Because if it's Toledo, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it myself. But if it's Toledo, which seems to be the only one that fits it, that is interesting. So JJ says, what licenses does Williams have? Well, so Zen has the Williams license, and Williams purchased Bally in 1988. So all the pinball tables that are under the purview that theoretically Zen could release would be any Williams pinball machine or any Bally pinball machine. So quite a lot. And, they released a lot under those different banners, and a lot of them are really exciting. We're still waiting for, but, maybe they're running short on some of the 80s and 90s eras and are looking to mix in some of those classic pins. It'll be interesting because if they do Toledo, I think it'll be the first one that you could really compare head to head with Magic Pixel, right? Because Magic Pixel loves doing these old, like Zachariah tables and these old ones. So being able to take Zen doing a really old one next to Magic Pixel, I think it might be able to compare much better the difference in the two. And Chaotic says, "Holy Toledo." Yep, a boring symmetrical layout. That's absolutely right. But just like Magic Pixel likes, it does have 4 flippers, and 4 flippers means 4 times the value. Just don't think Zen is going back further than 1980. I think it would be an odd choice as well, Meatball. But from manufacturing number wise, it's the only one that fits their clues. Now, the hint in their clue could be sold versus manufactured. So maybe it's one of these other tables that sold where they manufactured 3,500 or 387, and maybe the difference is the other ones didn't sell; they were donated or destroyed. Who knows? But their clue, the only one I could find that truly fits their clue to a T is Toledo. And I hope I'm wrong, because I have no interest in that. If it's Toledo, I'll give you my oldest child. I hope it's not. It has to have a DMD. Who says it has to have a DMD? They could make up their own DMD and just put a little scoreboard down there, right? I'm okay with one older table as long as the others are not. Yeah, that's right. If they tack up that, I'm in the same boat. If this Williams pinball pack has an old table and a couple newer ones, or maybe they do a generational thing, like here is the Toledo original, and then here is a table that was inspired by that. Obviously, real Williams tables, not like doing the Magic Pixel thing where they age it up, but real ones that kind of were built off that designer. Maybe that would be really cool. Who designed Toledo? How did he get better over the years? Things like that could be pretty cool, but we'll see. So what tables and licenses have not released on Zen. So I'll let other people comment because I'm not a huge Zen aficionado, but I think I think they've done a bunch. Obviously, did they do Bride of Pinbot? So there's there already. So there's that series. There's quite a few that they have been sitting out there, but I think they're a lot of the bangers have been done. Should be 5 Williams this year. Hope most are bangers. Yeah, I hope they're all bangers. Like the ones they've done that they've released it in on the 4KP and Pinball FX VR have been awesome in my opinion. They've picked all great games. And so it really would be weird to go to the Toledo style game because it's such a departure from the ones that they've been doing. Back to the firepower, Stock Jock. Yeah, so Meatball says, I bet on titles for the pack. I am betting on Pinbot, Taxi, and Diner. Yes, I think that's a lot of people have mentioned Diner, I've noticed. Next great set of pinball tables will come this October when they go back to their M-rated tables. Like, oh yes, I can't wait for more of the Pinball M stuff. Who owns Gottlieb licenses tables? Those were fantastic. I think those were like I don't want to assume, but I thought that those licenses were AtGames, but they used I don't know. Jason would know better than I do. I don't want to say something wrong because I thought maybe they worked with Magic Pixel on those, but could be totally wrong. Campton Fantastic Wizard Matihari from their Bally collection. Yeah, there's lots of good ones from there. Well, 12,000 is more than 3,001. Based on the pictures, the could be one Williams table, one Pinball M table, and one Zen original table. That could be. I was hoping with the Williams thing, it was all of them, right? Like the Williams is centered because all 3 tables are Williams, and they're only giving us the hint on one. But if it is 3 different genres, that would be interesting as well. Flash Pinball, not the movie. So the dance? Gorgar would be a winner, and it sold way over 3,001. Yeah, so is the Clue sold over 3,001? I thought it was sold 3,001. I have that. 1 second. Let's see here. So, oh, you're right. It says sold over 3,001. So that opens the door to a crap ton, right? So there you go. Take Toledo off the board. It's definitely not Toledo. That's why it pays to read. I made the same mistake others when they looked at tables that were made in 1990. It wasn't made in 1990. It was made before 1990 and sold over 3,001 tables. So that puts a lot of options out there. So it could be just about anything. I think the Clue, the number is misleading, intentionally more than 3,001, which is an odd number. I think the 1 at the end is the Clue. 12,001 fits the Clue well with Pinbot, manufactured 12,001. Excellent theory. Farsight owns Gottlieb. And Jason has confirmed that. So there you go. Gottlieb Development LLC and some titles are owned by Sony. Let's see here. Lots of Farsight Studios. Brooklyn, thanks for dropping by. Gregory's here. I passed over some of his comments earlier as they were talking about the Playboy pinball machine. Magic Pixel upgraded the original tables from Pinball Arcade Gottlieb. There you go. Gorgar sold 14,000 and was the first pinball with speech. That would be fire. Oh, yeah. Demolition Man would be awesome. Yeah, that is way, way, way different. James, do you know what the deal was with AtGames Zen delay? So we don't have any idea. Obviously, we have another. I skipped over that. I guess there's more pinball news we could talk about, right? The AtGames. Where did the overlay go? Waka waka waka. There we go. So there is obviously more delays from AtGames. The latest set of Zen tables that were to release this week got delayed again. It seems like AtGames had a flurry of releases in the span of a week and a half, and then we're back to the delay game, and any new table seems to be hitting these delays. It's very strange. I don't even want to speculate what's behind it. It's very, potentially it's just development issues, but if that's the case, maybe Zen should stop printing calendars and telling people when things are coming out, because every time they have a new Zen table or a pack, they have to delay it, and it just looks ridiculous. Maybe they should just stick in a wider range of, in Q3 we're going to release these tables, and Q4 we're going to release these tables, so that they don't have to keep putting out their own bad press, or at least it would minimize it to only those delays that are significant, like the severely disappointing KI and Battletoads pack. So unfortunate that those weren't better and lived up to the hype. But yeah, so I could, we could speculate all day long, right? They've laid off a ton of staff. They were going to do price increases on Zen, then they didn't, and they did again, but never came to fruition. It's just been all over the place, so it's very confusing, and I'm just not really sure what the hell's going on over there these days. But I know people aren't happy, so let's see. Devastator Omega says, any news on AtGames 4K Iconic Arcade are still a nothing burger from them. So nothing from them at all. Haven't heard anything from either, from Iconic, which is frustrating, not since, what was it, early June when they announced their big delay to mid-October. So I don't know. No news right now, unfortunately. But we had lots of good news from Basic Fun, at least. Summertime people, vacations, da 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 da. All right, let's Stupid Fat Hobbit says, do we even know if there are new tables that Zen hasn't done? Usually their 3-packs release across consoles prior. Black Knight, Bonsai Run, and Earthshaker came out in the 80s and were 3-packs before. Yeah, so I imagine there's a whole bunch that they haven't done. This announcement is truly new. The question for me is, are they good ones, right? Like that they've never done before and actually quality ones. So, I have pretty good faith in Zen. I don't think they've released many crappy ones, right? So, all right, next up, we're going to pivot away from Zen, sort of. We're going to stay in the virtual pinball space. We're going to be talking about the Arcade2TV XR haptics kit, which was officially announced 10 days ago. Again, posted about this on the channel. Didn't get a chance to really talk about it, so figured I'd talk about it a little today. Of course, again, second disclosure, I received the Arcade2TV XR for review, which also included the Zen Pinball FX VR application for review, and I do have an affiliate link with these guys. But as somebody who owns the 4KP and was just absolutely blown away by how good the SSF kit was, and I'm pretty well known, I was a doubter on the SSF kit, didn't have it for the longest of time. And when I did it and used it for the first time, was absolutely stunned at how well AtGames did with that SSF kit. that I'm super excited that Arcade is bringing haptics to the Arcade2TV XR, because haptics and a good plunger and nudge features are the only thing missing from making Pinball FX VR by far the best virtual pinball experience you can possibly have. And they have done it all here. Like, they've even gone the extra mile. So not only are you getting the new back plate that has built-in speakers, because you're going to be running the sound from your MetaQuest headset into the Arcade2TV XR, and I keep looking over here because it's sitting right next to me. So you need some speakers so you can hear the sound from the game, right? So you get this new backplate, still has the spot to put your MetaQuest controllers, but now has these audible speakers, which I guarantee you're going to sound better than the ones in your MetaQuest headset. But you're getting 4 shaker motors. So 2 are placed next to the flipper buttons, and 2 are more set up front. I have lots of questions about the placement of this. It doesn't seem right to me. You would think you would want the rear shakers further back. Lord knows with this big plate here, right? There's lots of room. All the control panels sit in front of this, right? Your joystick and your buttons would be out here. So there's all this space here that's going unused where you could put the rear shakers. And then the front shakers are actually like at the very, very front. So they're in a virtual space. If you think where a pinball table is and where your flipper buttons are, there's not really much closer to you, right? Maybe an inch and you're at the edge of the table. So to have those front shakers way forward seems like an odd placement. Now, having said that, I have to assume this has been in development. They kind of broke the news here on the channel when we interviewed AV that they were working on this and didn't know if they'd be able to do it, but they were working on it at the time. And so this has been going through months and months of testing. So I can only assume that they landed on the placement through rigorous play testing. I do have faith in that. So I'm optimistic that the placement of the 4 shakers will give us as close as possible as feel as the SSF kit does on the AtGames. So very interested to see. If it doesn't, I'll tell you, I myself plan on moving them around. I'll move the front ones to where the rear ones are now, and I'll put the rear ones further back. But for the time being, like, I'm willing to bet that they've worked that out, and this gives you that best feel. But they went above and beyond, right? So we not only have the shaker motors, we not only have the speakers, but we also have the solenoids. So you'll have that real clack, right? That also the AtGames has. So that to me, I didn't think they would do that. They never really even talked about that. And so to have the solenoids just ups the realism and the ante. Of course, they're also including the accelerometer. So you have that, I think they said, like 8-way nudge ability. So that's a big one, again, like the AtGames. So very cool that now we get that nudge. And then, of course, the plunger. So, and the plunger, I think they said, has a Hall effect plunger. So I'm really optimistic that this plunger works a heck of a lot better than AtGames, because the AtGames plunger just doesn't work very well. So I'm really interested to see how this one works. Now, in all openness, this is not going to be an install, I think, for the faint of heart. So here's the placement I was talking about of those shaker motors. Very, very interesting placement. But this is a retrofit mod. It wasn't, this product was never designed for this. So you're going to be drilling holes. you're going to be doing some things that weren't anticipated with this product. But these guys do a great job, so I'm pretty confident the install isn't going to be super difficult. but it's definitely not going to be for the faint of heart. You're gonna need some tools beside a screwdriver. One of the things you have to give a big shout out to AtGames on is how easy they made the install of the SSF kit. Of course, they designed the 4KP from the beginning with the SSF kit in mind. So everything's pre-drilled, everything was laid out perfectly. So when and if you did the upgrade, you could easily install it. They made everything color coded, numbered. So anybody that can just follow 1, 2, 3 could set up their SSF kit. This will be interesting, right? I think it's going to be a little more of a challenge for people. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. The cost, no idea what the cost is, but I can only imagine with everything we're getting here and knowing kind of what AtGames was charging, this thing is probably going to be in the $400 or north of $400 range. That's just a pure guess. And if it comes in under that, I will just be absolutely stunned. And who knows? Like, I'm just guessing. But you got to figure 4 shaker motors, the solenoids, the accelerometer, the plunger. Like, you're getting a ton of stuff in this kit. So stay tuned. Pre-orders should be up soon. I know they're just wrapping things up with some of their testing. And so this should be super awesome. I can't wait for this to drop. Brooklyn wants to see one installed with a hacksaw. You might. I mean, clearly you're going to need to do something like, right, with this this plunger. There's not exactly an attachment down here. There's rubber stoppers and stuff. So you're going to be drilling some holes to attach this thing, or at least run the cables up through there. Yeah, $1 million. That's right. We've already heard the news. That's right. So I just wanted to talk about that. I know lots of people have covered this, but this is pretty awesome. So next up is more happier news, I think. And a big shout out to Glenn. And as was stated earlier, the #1 home arcade for 2026, potentially, the Build-A-Cade FU. And I just wanted to share this, give a shout out. We've talked a lot about the Build-A-Cade FU on the channel, but look at that pledge, man. 230 backers with 44 days to go. So 2 weeks into this launch. And man, he's at almost $500,000 pledged. Just could not be happier for Glenn and for all the people backing this. Again, if you are still considering it, there are lots of options still available, right? Even the super early bird, there's still 27 left. I know a lot of people are more interested in the bundles, right, where you get all these decks. There's only 15 left in the 19-inch rotating, and in the 26-inch rotating, there's only 5 left with all those decks. So even some of these 2-packs, these sold 20% of them. So still great options out there available on Glenn's. And again, I'm so excited for Glenn, so happy that this has been such a success for him. And I can't wait to see these start coming in, and everybody with their reviews and bragging about this thing. So it's super, super awesome. Billy Woods, God, click right, James, says he cannot wait for this one. And of course, Jason posted on there, it's not too late. It's definitely not too late. But these will start selling out. Only 27 left. As you get closer to this deadline, expect sales to start picking up again as people try to lock in those deals. Just if you're on the fence, just think that through. Again, Glenn's a friend of the channel, but I'm not affiliated with GRS or anything in any way. So I've purchased their products. I love the super stick, right, for Akari Warriors, but very cool, very awesome. So happy for Glenn. And I mean, this is huge. Like he's raised more than Wonderland. He's, hit it out of the park with this one. And so congratulations to Glenn. Huge success. And lastly, really hoping for international. Yep. Yeah, hopefully you can get it to Canada for sure, and then up into UK would be awesome. And Gamer Fridge says congratulations to Glenn. Jason says Glenn's going straight for plaid. Yeah, that money is spent. Now I'm just looking ahead to the next purchase and products for this year. Yeah, and here's Glenn himself making home arcade great again. Because nobody is making this thing great again. We've already mocked them for today. But yeah, super excited for Glenn, and always appreciate Glenn dropping by. But guys, it's amazing to me that the success of this and how everybody, I knew it would be good. I just am blown away by how much people have supported Glenn and jumped in on this, because they know quality, they know good stuff. They've gone to play. Yeah, I don't know. Murderbot is here. Murderbot is great. Interesting Show. Spaceballs. Oh, well, I haven't seen Spaceballs in a while, so there you go. So last up, let's talk about the biggest home arcade news of the weekish. It's really been about a week since this was announced. So I think technically, again, it was the 10 days thing, because it was officially June 30th. And that is, of course, that Chuck E. Cheese himself has grown up and opened a line of Chuck's arcades. These arcades are more designed for nostalgia and the adult gamer, the person who was a kid when they went to Chuck E. Cheese. And it's very interesting, right? Because I think their goal here is to try to be Dave and Buster's, but they're very much, I don't know. It's an interesting concept, I'll say that. Watched a few reviews. There are 10 of these in existence. Watched a review of one, and it was unmanned. So it was just an arcade in a mall that had a bunch of arcade machines. You purchased your card from the vending machine and you played, and there's nobody around to talk to. There's nobody manning a prize redemption thing. But I think you'll notice most of the games are prize redemption things. So that's very strange. But it was pretty interesting. And I'll tell you one thing, that one was a more intriguing to me than some of the other ones that I've taken a look at. But these are designed to be in malls. You can see here some of the stuff, right? The raddest arcade games. These are designed for the family. But as of yet, here's a list of locations, probably hard to read, but here is one in Kansas City. So that is what we are going to talk about specifically. And I will actually be visiting there this weekend and shooting some footage, and I'll give a little preview while I'm there to our channel members. So again, shouting out Sargent for the donation to channel members earlier at the beginning of the show. But we'll probably do a little bit of live from Chuck's Arcade for channel members, but we'll shoot a full video and everything. So there'll be produced content. But the nice thing about the Kansas City one, and what is different about it than all others, is that it has the restaurant. None of the other ones have the restaurant. So when you go into Chuck's Arcade in Kansas City, you can get a piece together pizza. And I say that half joking, right? Obviously, everybody knows Chuck E. Cheese. The rumors is they just take leftover pizza, form them together to make another pizza, and then serve it to people. But yes, pizza at the one in Kansas City. But they have more than just pizza. It's a grown up Chuck's Arcade, right? And so, a lot of people will take a little bit of take a look at some of the pictures from Chuck's Arcade and Pizzeria, which is the one here in Kansas City. They took some homage with Chuck in the thumbnail of today's video, and that's because I made Chuck a middle-aged older man with worn out by his kids. So he's not sad, he's just exhausted. So more on that to come, but that is the Chuck E. Cheese that is on the thumbnail is the older Chuck E. Cheese, the one who is now having this arcade. So as you can see from the picture, they're going for a kind of a modern nostalgia vibe with the Atari-like controllers, Space Invaders, old loading screens. Of course, it's Chuck, not Chucky anymore because he's all grown up. Kind of homage to the Atari rainbow here. It's a very interesting wall decor. They used a lot of the kind of Chuck E. Cheese art as well throughout. But you can see this isn't much of a restaurant, right? We've got a couple small booths, a couple tables. I mean, maybe those are 4-person booths, and this is a little deceptive on the angle. You got the full prize redemption. We got our Defender cab right up here. And the thing you may not be able to tell from this angle is this is clearly not an original Defender cab. They're using, aside from that, they're also using LCD screens on their arcades. So all these classic ones actually have LCD screens. They have no coin doors. They're all converted to these barcode things. But they do have pinball, so you'll get some Stern pinball in here. And where is our... Come on. There we go. So there's another view of the booths. You can see a Pac-Man back there, and it looks very much like a Pixel Bash Pac-Man, right? There's an MK2 right there. Maybe there's a better picture of that. That's our sign. Here's our prize redemption booth. There's the Chuck's stained glass window. Again, prize redemptions. These are the ones you're typically going to see at Dave & Buster's, like the Guardians of the Galaxy train drop. You got the Plinko. You got the Spider-Man. This looks like the one-player Spider-Man, which is missing all the extra bonus wheels. But the Spider-Man basically coin and bead pusher. So pretty common, redemption arcade games in here. And here's a couple pinballs, right? You got the, I think, well, there's a Donkey Kong, right? Again, look at the front of that. Not even clearly not the original. I can't even read what that Mortal Kombat says. It's got more than Mortal Kombat. It says something underneath it. Ultimate Edition or something. Yeah, it looks like the Iron Maiden, but it's really odd. Like maybe it's just like a premium or a pro version. It's definitely not. It doesn't say, I don't see the Legacy of the Beast on there or anything. There's better pictures of that too. So there's obviously a more modern cocktail table here, that aftermarket. So pretty interesting. And, as you round the corner, here's more redemptions, basketball, it's it's kind of disappointing, quite frankly. Like if you looked at the ones in the mall, like the ones on their main page, these ones, like look how packed these are. These have all kinds of good stuff, right? As we watch the video, you know, we've got our nice claw machine intro. Mute that. But a lot more going on in this one than in Kansas City's. So I'm not sure if I should be all happy that we have the restaurant, because it came at the expense of actual arcade games. So I was somewhat disappointed. I was really excited to go check this out. I was going to go last weekend. But as I started digging into the pictures, I was like, what is this? This is not what the press releases say. This is not what we were led to believe. This is very bare bones. You can see I think it's right here, or maybe it's over here. This one's, because I think this Hertz Donuts is still in business. I think it's right here technically. So I'm keeping an open mind. I hope it's just kind of deceptive in the way the pictures are taken, but it doesn't seem like a place where an adult can be a kid, right? So very, very skeptical of that one. It sounded like an 80s workout video. That's right. I like this one. Upchuck's Arcade. No, it is not a Mario Kart World stream. Yeah, Jay, they have some retro games like we saw the Defender, the Donkey Kong, the Mortal Kombat, but they are not exactly in the formats you remember them. They're all LCD screens, like the Mortal Kombat's even a widescreen, a widescreen LCD. The cabinets are not original, they're recreations. So, I mean, it's interesting, right? Like, because clearly they didn't go out and buy and restore cabs, when I think some of our favorite arcades are the barcades and people that are doing that. They are keeping the originals alive for us to play. And here they're basically mailing in the nostalgia and, and trying to basically, I don't know. I don't know if this concept is going to work. It's too small to be a Dave and Buster's. They don't have the variety. I will say the other food items I forgot to mention, they serve pizza, they have wings. You can get alcohol, so you can get beer. I assume there's other appetizers and things you can get. But like I said, it does have a bar, so you can at least get some alcohol, I guess. But I was very disappointed. I'm showing you things and I don't even have it up, but I was very disappointed in at least the one here in town, and some of the people visiting them online is kind of not great either. So hopefully it's a success and grows into something more impressive. Not quite sure why they're going with this model of putting them in malls. Despite the way the front of that looked, it's connected to the Ward Parkway Mall. So this is, even though it's an external entrance, it is technically part of the mall, though I don't think you can get into any of the other places from inside it. But why malls? Like, all the malls are shutting down, going out of business. Was it just like, hey, we can get cheap space in here? Because it's not like you're getting foot traffic in there. The malls really aren't making it anymore. So that's a strange decision, especially when you're a company like Chuck E. Cheese that already has properties all over the place. Why wouldn't you just convert some of those? Because I guarantee you many of those are hanging on by a thread. It would make more sense to take some of those failing ones and make them more adult-centered and put a real restaurant in there with not just your Chuck E. Cheese leftover pizzas, but like, real food like burgers and boneless wings and chicken tenders and all that other crap bar food that you can get at Dave and Buster's or Main Event or some of these other places. B. Kirby says, I have a Galloping Ghost. This place is below a Chicagoan's expectation of what a real arcade should be. But can you play Pop the Lock, B. Kirby, at Galloping Ghosts? Can you win a $50 piece of Laffy Taffy? I don't think you can. I don't think you can. I got a gun pulled on me by security at the mall in 6th grade for smoking in a stairwell. A gun. That's a bit overkill. I guess that's right, though. Smoking does kill. Apparently, it's the security guards that do it. So let's take a look real quick at today's poll results. And it looks like I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. And not surprisingly, the results for modern arcade games are 54% for Dave and Buster's. So a modern arcade, if you're going to go to a modern arcade, everybody knows Dave and Buster's. They got a ton of games, ton of sports, ton of alcohol and food. Followed up by Chuck's Arcade, which is surprising, and mainly living off that Chuck E. Cheese nostalgia, followed up by Round 1 and Main Event. And I imagine a lot of you may not be familiar with Main Event. They have a crap ton of them in Kansas City, and I know they're in other places in the Midwest. Like there are a lot of them here in town. It's pretty funny. But they are really actually pretty darn cool. So think of everything Dave & Buster's has from a gaming perspective. Then think about basically a just as good or better restaurant. And then they also add bowling. They have, as I mentioned, a full laser tag arena. They also have these like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, zip lines, but they're metal. And so, you know, kids and people can get on them and, you know, kind of fly around the building and stuff. They're very impressive, and they're on par with Dave & Buster's from a price perspective. So it's a great place for company outings, for children's birthday parties, or to just go hang out and play a lot of games. They have retro, they have originals, they have all the redemption stuff. So it's very cool. Definitely recommend checking out Main Event if you're ever in the Midwest traveling. It's worth at least stopping by once in your life. It's no Galloping Ghost. It's no some of these huge places on the coast that have like a zillion pinball games and things like that. But for a fun family outing that isn't a Dave & Buster's, it's a great place. And again, lots of different options in there. So that is all the I guess home arcade news that's fit to talk about. And actually got to give B. Kirby another shout out for gifting 10 more memberships. So really appreciate that, B. Kirby. Very thankful. And so really appreciate that. And I'm trying to figure out some of these changes here with StreamYard. And Kiwi says, I'd like to see more arcade pinball combinations outside of bars. What about a cafe or a gym or a dispensary? Yeah, I mean, that I totally agree with you. We actually have, and someday I'll go over there and shoot some stuff, but we have this great Philly cheesesteak place in Kansas City called Chartreuse Caboose, and they have a huge line of Sterns in there, all connected up. And they didn't used to. And just, I guess, like the owner, decided he was going to get heavy into pinball. And so they took out a whole section of seating and just jam-packed it with pinball machines. So it's pretty awesome. And so not only can you get the best Philly cheesesteak in Kansas City, but you can go in there and play all the latest and greatest Sterns and some of the classic best ones that they have. It's really cool. Stockjock says, with G.I. Joe coming out with some cabs here soon, if you were one of the first people that could get a G.I. Joe Tendo, what cab would you want to do? Well, G.I. Joe knows what cab I want to do because I've been talking to him about it. But for me, it's probably my dream one would be a Punch Out, which I don't, again, that would be a little harder. It's going to be outside the scope of what he's doing initially, right? So putting that one away, but I would love to do that, right? Maybe with a vertical 16:9 screen in there, so you could have the two screens. But Punch Out is my dream cab to own. But I will be leaning towards Popeye. Popeye is the one I really want to have. That's the one, um, I really want. I think it's a good game. It's different than Donkey Kong, right? I think, if you're going to sell Nintendo cabs, you're going to probably sell 10 Donkey Kongs for every one of everything else. And so I kind of want to go not with some of those staples, but go the Popeye route, right? Because I can still play Donkey Kong and all that other stuff on it. But I like the look of Popeye. So that's the way I'm going. And B. Kirby says the same thing. Stock Jock says Donkey Kong Jr. There's just so many good options, right? Fat Hog says Popeye. I have some of the real Nintendo marquees hanging up on my wall. I have a Donkey Kong Jr. I have versus Super Mario, which those are really paper marquees that were behind a plexi. I have Popeye. I have Punch Out. Those were, obviously the Donkey Kong ones and the Popeye and the Punch Out. Those are real, true plastic. Well, not plastic, but plexi reverse. Not real marquees. They're vintage marquees. They're the real things. But it's funny, the Versus series, Nintendo cheaped out on, right, and just made those paper ones, and that they're thicker paper, Mylar maybe, because you would swap them out, right? You put Versus Excite Bike in there, Versus Castlevania, and so they made them cheaper to make it easier to mod your Versus cabinets. And a lot of the Versus cabinets, right, had actually two options on there. So, that's why I'm not really looking to make a Versus one. I think the Play Choice 10 is cool. And I know that's the first one Joel did out of the gate. But for me, that's just NES games. I want the actual arcade games. I can play the NES on 50 different systems, right? And including other arcades. So, I really wanted the arcades to be arcades. Not that Play Choice 10 wasn't in the arcade. And Lord knows we all played it because that was how you could play a bunch of bunch of those NES games, because couldn't of course own them all. So I think they're all awesome, and I'm excited for all of them. That's definitely one of the things I'm most excited for coming out here is his Nintendo cabs, because there's Joel Tendo cabs, because it's something we all have wanted for so long, right? So very excited to see those come to fruition, and hope he knocks it out of the park just as much as Glenn does. I hope Joel is loaded with problems of having to find more employees, buy more equipment, and get a big ass building because he's getting so many orders, and he turns into some giant home arcade company. But we will see, right? Made in the U.S. By our very own G.I. Joel. So anytime these guys, right? I sing this song often. I love the entrepreneurs in this community, and I love to support them, and I hope they have huge success. So that is all I have for tonight. So I want to thank everybody again for coming by, hanging out for the last hour and 20 minutes. Hopefully we get some real news over the next week or so, or have something. I have some other things brewing that I hope come to fruition for next week. But the news has definitely been dead. And as we get closer and closer to Q4, I would expect more and more information to come out from companies like Basic Fun. Hopefully we'll hear from Iconic Arcade. Hopefully we learn soon if Arcade 1UP is actually going to drop an XL cab at Costco. Personally, I think they will. but I don't know yet if that is actually going to happen. But the news should start pouring in, and I can't wait if it does. I did forget something. So before I sign off, I want to start doing this every week, and that is to spotlight a comment of the week. So we talked a lot today about virtual pinball and virtual pinball accessories and Zen Studios. So I think this comment was fitting, and it came about 7 days ago, a week ago, from Inward Harder, who says, I've been saying this since they had the old Pinball FX2 VR game, now called Pinball FX Classics. The multiplayer is what we need. I feel like the physics of the pinball tables might be too complex to run too many tables on the same server. I could be wrong, but recently, since Tomb Raider release and other updates, my game tells me it's low on memory to play Pinball FX VR. So no clue if he's using like the 3S or the 3, because I haven't experienced that issue myself. But maybe you guys have. It'd be interesting to hear. He says, I'm thinking maybe continuously running the entire arcade while also running a complex pinball simulation is what is causing it. I'm really just guessing, but I think that's what's going on. That would explain why they haven't included multiplayer yet. Maybe if it's a limit on RAM or whatever the term is, they can make it so you can play multiplayer, but it's taking turns, either in competition or playing co-op. I'd like that. Multiplayer really is the icing on the cake. The game has blown the old version out of the water, other than the memory issue. So sorry to hear he is having a memory issue, but I could not agree more with Inward's comments. The killer app for Pinball FX VR, besides the great Arcade2TV XR controller, but the killer app would be multiplayer. A lot of you guys know we all hang out frequently playing walkabout golf in VR on the MetaQuest, on the PSVR 2, and it's not that mini golf is like the greatest game of all time. It's that experience of all being in the same room, being able to compete, being able to talk shit, just have good conversation, hang out with the guys, being able to see who you're talking to, even if they look like a penguin with a rubber glove on their head or a taco cat. It's just a ton of fun, and it's a great experience. And if you could do that in Pinball FX VR, where you could just hang out with the guys, play pinball, everybody could be playing different games. There's so many ways they could do this, I think, without, as Inward said, loading down the memory and issues. It would change. It would be epic. People would be in there every night just playing these games, having the fun competitions with each other. I mean, it's already a great competitive platform since you can look at all your friends' scores and stuff, but to be able to do it right there with them and experience that would be just absolutely phenomenal. So hope that happens. And I want to thank Inward for his comment this week. So if you want to be in a featured comment of the week, make it a good one and leave comments on videos in the future. As always, we're at the end. So if you're new here, hit subscribe, ring the bell for notification, yada, yada, yada. But until next time, have fun. Point.